welcome everybody. I appreciate everyone jumping on. If you are part of our Elevate REI Mastermind, this is our weekly training, and this is going to be nothing new to you. Well, David will be new to you and what we're going to talk about maybe, but our weekly rhythm of our trainings, each and every Monday at noon. Today, we're going to diverge a little bit. I can't even remember. I think we were going to be talking about contractors or something was on our schedule. However, we've got an amazing guy I've gotten to know a little bit over the last, I don't know, I think I met David maybe a year or so ago at one of Don Costa's events. So anyway, a very worthwhile topic, and we put this call together really as a great resource for investors and for our community, and open it up for many of you that are on the call now. I really appreciate you guys being there and joining us. I would ask that everybody stay muted. We will have a time for questions later. That might be a brief time, but we will have some time for questions. So yeah, without further ado, let's get going. David Richter is a investor, author, and honestly, just all around great guy. David has written a book called Profit First for Real Estate Investing. This is I'm going to tell you a little bit about David and I talked on his podcast here recently, and I was able to share my story, and so I'm going to share that a little bit later. But implementing systems in your business is critical. Implementing, proven strategies that can make the actual, details of business flow smoothly, and your finances is a huge part of that. Is absolutely critical. Many of us dance around the topic of taking real estate as a business very seriously. We're maybe got our foot half in the door. We're you treating it like a side hobby. We're still swinging a hammer and putting band-aids on our business left and right. Treating your finances seriously and knowing how to track them and plan ahead is critical. And so David's book opened that up for me hugely. So I'm going to let David take over now. So David, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you jumping in. I know you've got a screen share that you're going to demonstrate. So I'm going to let you take it from here. Chime in anytime you need anything, but I'm going to hit mute and let you run with it. Sound okay?
Sounds great. Thanks,
right,
Jason. Appreciate it. Okay, how many have at least done one deal so far? A real estate deal so far? Done it? See a few hands there. How many you're still working on the first one? There's some people out there still working on it. Angie, you put your camera on. I didn't see it for either one, so I don't know. So if you're still working on it, no matter if you've done a lot of deals, you're still working on the first deals. This is something where I wish I would have known at the very beginning, and this is why I have to pass it on. At our highest point, I worked with a real estate company where we were doing 25 deals a month. Sounds like a lot, but we were spending about 26 worth out the door. So it's like if you make $1 million and spend 1.1 to get there. That sucks. So this is how to not do that, if I had to just encapsulate it all in that. But I title this, I'll show you how to keep more profit without closing more deals or becoming a financial wizard. Because a lot of us did not get into real estate investing or becoming business owners to become a financial wizard of someone that's just a spreadsheet king or queen. I use what you said all the time. A lot of us as entrepreneurs are allergic to spreadsheets. And I loved that. That was a great visual representation. And this is how to get a financial system in place where if you close your next deal, even if you're still working on that first one, you close that first one, or if you're on deal 1,000, what do I do with the money once it comes in? So I'm not going to teach you these fancy spreadsheet things or whatever, profit and loss, balance sheet, all that. No, we're going to deal with cash today. What do we do once cash comes in? That's my book in the bottom right-hand corner. If you've read that book, thank you very much. And then on the top right is the original Profit First, which was kind of like the general concept for all businesses. Then I wrote it specifically for real estate investing because we're our own breed of entrepreneur. So I felt like after doing lots of deals, like, okay, I need to bring this message here because it has helped me along my journey. I'll tell a little bit about that story, but then also as well to just the dozens and now hundreds of people that we've worked with and implement it and help people with this. So let's dive into it. How many of you have ever gone to a credit card machine? You're like, man, I hope this is going to go through. Man, you're just like sitting there and like, man, I hope I don't have that awkward interaction right here. That's something that as an entrepreneur, I feel like if you're in that boat, you probably have been there at some point. Like, oh man, I need to run this campaign, or I need to hire this person, or I need to run payroll. It could be in a bunch of different types of things like that. It's like, man, is this going to go through? A lot of us are out here. You are a part of this group, or you follow Jason, or whatever it might be. You're learning to make a lot of money, and you will in the real estate game. Like, just stick it out. You're still working on that first deal. Keep working on it. You get that first deal under your belt, boom. It's like, okay, how do I keep this rolling? Keep that momentum going. But that's where I want to tell you a story about a little bit about what I was talking about, how we were doing so many deals, but then also another guy that we worked with and we still do. His name is Joey, and we were on a Zoom call like this, and the first words were, I hate fix and flip. I'm like, what? Like, this is your main source of income. What are you talking about? Well, he tells me the full story from there. He said, I walked into my CPA's office. This was back in 2019. So I've known this guy for a few years now. And he said, I walked into her office and she said, looking at your numbers, I would never get into real estate investing. And he was like, what? He said, how bad is it? She said, you lost $70,000 this year. And he was like, gut punch, doubled over in pain almost. Walking out that door, underneath the door, said it got worse because I had to go home and tell my wife, Ashley, that's Ashley there. She had started working in the business that year because they started growing and scaling. And he had her be the transaction coordinator, making sure the deals close, get across the finish line, all that coordination that has to happen back and forth. So he had to tell her she was invested. He was working 80, 90, 100-hour weeks that year. He was scaling at all costs, literally like that cliched statement, and sacrificed family time, sacrificed the time of going to the gym. He liked working out before. Like, that year, everything blew up because he was just scaling. And I was like, okay, I got a better picture of why you hate it now. And he said, David, I did more deals in 2019 than I've ever done, but I lost more money than I've ever lost. And that hit me right between the eyes, because I learned of Joey and his story after we had gone through our trauma of going through 25 deals and spending 26 worth out the door. And I'm like, man, I feel your pain. I feel like I've been there where we're just doing so many deals and like, where is all that money going? And I told him, like, we can help out of this, but we're going to have to just dig in and make sure you know where every dollar's going. That's why I'm going to teach you the rest of this today. But if you've ever felt like Joey in the entrepreneur space, like, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's light at the end of the tunnel that I want to shine for you today. And if you're like, hey, whoever said you're still working on it, getting your first deal, how can we avoid this situation? I want you to love real estate. Real estate is one of the best paths to wealth, if not the best path to wealth. And like, I don't want you to be one of the statistics that your business goes down because you were one of those ones that didn't know where the cash goes. And like, you could be doing lots of deals, but still end up like, I gotta fold it in because we have too much cash going out the door and I gotta sell off everything. I don't want you to get there either. I've seen both sides of this. So I'm going to just guide you today. Because like Jason said, it's a system. At the end of the day, this is going to be training time. This is not just hype for Profit First. I'm going to give you practical steps that from this call you can implement. If you're working on deal one, like, I would set up the basics so you can get that first deal and be confident with the money. If you're on deal whatever, 100,000, whatever it is, wherever you are, needs to start today. The pain we all secretly feel was what Joey was going through. Made money but feel broke. I hear that all the time now. That's how I knew we weren't weird back in the day. I was going to masterminds like Don Costas. It wasn't Don's. It was a different mastermind that I was going to back then, but I was hearing the same thing. Doing lots of deals or making money, but where's it all going? And what's crazy to me is that so many people go through this, but we don't talk about it. It's like one of those secret things, right? It's like when you go out there and you go into a group or whatever, it's like, this is how many deals I've done versus, oh shoot, I really don't have any idea where it's all going though. Like, we could be doing deals, or I just closed my third one or whatever it is, but are you still going to be around, next month or next year? And I don't want you don't have to stay here. This is not something that has to be this deep rooted pain that we're never going to get rid of. It can be somewhere we can walk ourselves away from it. The root problem though, that keeps us stuck in that pain, that I want to help you unwind, because I'm not a surface level person. We're going to go deep. The root problem is our thinking that the next deal or just more income solves all our problems. We think that if that next deal closes, I'll be okay. If we just sell off a portfolio, we'll be okay. If I just do this, it's all going to work out. The root problem is just like if you're in the W-2 world, if I get a raise, like just if I made more money, it would just help. And while making more money does help, it only helps if you have a system to catch the money on the back end, to make sure you're not blowing through it and you don't keep having that situation come up over and over and over again. That's where there was a guy that Jason might even know his name, like from one of the masterminds we're a part of, where 2 years ago he came up to me and was like, I'm facing these cash flow issues. It's really stressful right now. I have affiliates that I'm paying out. I have different marketing sources. Like, it's hard to keep it straight. We never ended up working together, but he came to me a year later and he didn't have any more staff in place. He was rebuilding from the ground up. Like, he didn't have to declare bankruptcy, but he was as close to square one as you can get back, in the entrepreneur game. And he was telling me that story, and I'm like, dang it. Like, I just wish would have taken some of the first steps, like just that I'm talking about today. Like, we could have avoided this. There was a guy that I had on a call one time, and he said, I have 20 projects in my pipeline. I have about $1.8 million of closings coming up, but I have 4 projects in that I'm working on right now, and I'm thinking of declaring bankruptcy because those 4 projects are eating my cash alive, and I can't get back. Like, I don't know how to get back. And even if those, all those deals would need to close over the next couple of weeks. And it's like, that's where we get into that rhythm of, okay, I just need that next deal without really counting the cost. Where are we? Where do we stand? And by growing our business, are we actually killing our business? I am not in favor of just staying small if that's not what you're supposed to do. I want you to be able to grow. I just want you to be intentional. I want you to have the dollars to back it up and not just be like, I can just plow through anything. Because that might work to a point, but there is a point where it doesn't work anymore. Now that I've seen businesses grow from 6 to 7 to 8 figures, like, that stops working at a certain point. Like, I can just plow through this problem. That's where I want to give you some key points from here. Because if you don't, this is what happens. Our current habits that you have today with money, whatever mindset or philosophy you got from traditional school telling you you can't make a mistake or you're a failure, to parents who might have said money grows on trees, to wherever now in the entrepreneur space where, like, everyone else is just making money, paying everyone else, and then hopefully there's money at the end of the day. Whatever their money habits you have now, I don't want it keeping you in the rat race. How many have played Cash Flow 101? Have people played that game? If you have, it is a great teaching tool for the real estate space. If you haven't, I would highly suggest playing it or getting a copy, because it's really good. It's just a great, like I said, great teaching tool for you, the investor. But then if you got kids, great teaching tool for them too. I've got a 7-year-old and I've got Cash Flow Junior or whatever. It's a great one. But in the middle, you see there's a little wheel. Like, in the game, you're literally trying to land on green spaces called big or small deals. And isn't that a great representation of what most real estate investors' lives are? Like, we're just literally trying to go around in this wheel, landing on the next deal. Like, I need to get that next deal, or what's going to happen? I don't know. Like, I'm going to get downsized, like one of the spaces are on there. I don't want you to stay stuck there, because on the outside of the board, if you've never played it, it's called the fun track. Like, that's where everyone's trying to get to. That represents financial freedom, whatever that means to you. But the current habits we might have with our business and with our money right now might be keeping us living deal to deal. So instead of paycheck to paycheck, you're not living deal to deal. It's like, we don't have to stay there. So that's where, how do we get out of that? We prioritize the right things. Now I'm going to give you a formula. The rest of this presentation is how do we make this formula reality? How do we actually put the system in place? But the formula to turn it around is sales minus profit equals expenses. I make a sale. I make sure there's profit for myself and the business, that it's healthy, and the expenses are still there to grow the business. But now it's making sure that I'm a healthy business first. If you're on here, you might have read Rich Dad Poor Dad sometime in your life, or heard of that book, or you've read The Richest Man in Babylon, or you've read the other popular one, The 7 Habits, Highly Effective People. They all have this formula inside of there, all of them. They just say it differently. They either say pay yourself first, A portion of all you have is yours to keep, or like the habit, right? Put first things first. That's literally one of the key habits. And it's like, you've heard this formula just packaged in different ways. What I want today is to give you the step-by-step formula of making it a reality, because that's what drove me to Profit First. Okay, I get it. I totally look like the accounting numbers guy that I would definitely not be allergic to spreadsheets. But honestly, my background is real estate investing, being the entrepreneur, and this is what I grasp onto Profit First. And I believe why Jason said too, like Profit First, open your eyes, because it was written to the entrepreneur of like, here's some simple first steps. Like if you have no idea what's going on, like here's just some simple things we can put in place, and you don't have to be this financial wizard to do it. Like you could be doing it from your first deal, your first entrepreneur foray into, that wilderness. So here's what I want to give you. I want to give you that light. I want to be this guide for you while we go on that journey. So here's point number one. How do we keep more without closing more? Number one, find what you need to keep. This is going to be a little bit of mind work before we get to the system, but this is very key mind work that we need to do. Find what you need to keep. What do I mean by that? What does the keep number mean? Before I answer that, answer this question for me. Why did you start your business? Why did you start your business? You can write it down there. You can just be thinking, like I want you though to not say financial freedom, and I don't want you to just say time freedom or something like that. I want you to go several layers deeper. Why did you start your business? That's going to be key here, because if you've never thought about that, or if you're like, hey, that why has evolved over time, write that down right now. Because your keep number has everything to do with this question. Because what your keep number is what you pay yourself. And I split it into two sub numbers. One is your need number and one is your want number. What you need to keep from the business to pay yourself. So what do you need first? Like, how do you make sure that this month you won't have to worry about groceries or going out to eat or like the stuff, your typical normal everyday expenses in your home? What is that need number? So you don't feel like you're in your rat race. So if you were one of the ones that said, hey, I'm still working on my first deal. I'm still working on that first deal. Well, guess what? Do you want to replace your W-2 at some point in the future? If you do, then your need number would be, what's the minimum to escape my rat race, to get out of my W-2 job? Where the want number, to me, is the exciting one. It's not just the I've stopped sucking air. It's the now, what do I get to fulfill from my why? That want number is more like, okay, if $5,000 a month is what I need, if I want, what do I want? Maybe 50,000, maybe 25,000 in your pocket a month. What is that want number to you, and what would it help you fulfill? What would more money do for you? What could you put it towards? That's why having that why is so important. It grounds you to, if I do have more money, this is what I get to put it towards. And that's where a lot of investors, because our industry, the accounting, bookkeeping world, makes money and numbers so complicated, it's like we never connect the real numbers to what we really want from the business. Like, why are you doing all those deals? Why are you here today? Like, what are you doing? It's like, it's for the reason of why you started it. And if you're like, well, I just wanted to make a lot of money, but why? Is it because you never had money growing up? Or is it like, I want to show my kids a better life? I want to travel the world just because? I don't care. It's like, what is that for you? And then split it into your need and want number. If you stay on here to the end, I do give a walkthrough. This could be its own presentation by itself, going through the keep number form, but I'll give you a form. It's one page of like, how do I find that keep number? And then talk about it with someone else in your life too. But this is what I want to tell you. That's something there. How many have read the book, Crucial Conversations? Have you read that book? It's a life-changing book. It helped me in my personal life with my spouse. It helped me with my kid. It helped me with my leadership team. It's just great. It talks about when any conversation turns emotional, then it's a crucial conversation. But in chapter 10, they call it retaking your pen. And a big part of being able to take feedback is holding your pen firmly in your hand. And they say you're born with your pen in your hand. That's your self-worth. And when you're small, when you're like 0 to 4, it's real easy to write your own story. You don't care what anyone thinks. You get a little bit older, like school age, like my daughter there in this picture, she's 6. And when she had a school dress up day, okay, I'll give you a little illustration of this. She had a dress up day on Monday. Sunday night, she gets all the clothes out. It's Tacky Tourist Day. So she's got a little camera, a little, fanny pack that we found, a little hat. She gets it all ready Monday morning, super excited, gets all her clothes on, gets in the car. Dad, let's go to school. I'm like, okay, this is different. So we get in the car, we're driving to school, chat the whole time, just super excited. But 5 minutes away from school, she gets real quiet. So I say, Eleanor, what's going on, girl? And she said, Dad, do you think it's really tacky tourist day? Do you think other kids are going to be dressed up, or do you think they're going to make fun of what I'm wearing? And I'm like, that to me was a great illustration of her pen floating around there when she's 6 years old, to these other snotty-nosed 6-year-olds, like, how are they going to react? But that's normal, right? As we grow up, we're learning to be who we are. We're learning, we're going on our own journey. If you're here today, though, you've broken out of that cycle. Some people never break out of that and never get their pen back ever in their life. But if you're here today and you follow Jason, you probably took back your pen at some point and said, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to invest in real estate. I'm going to make a change for myself, for my family. You took back your pen. What I'm asking you to do is take it back one more time. Because you know why Joey got so depressed with his business and so down? He was letting other people dictate how many deals he should do versus what deals do I need to do for my family? Because you know what makes your business different than everyone else's? Even if they have a wholesale business, a flip business, it's you. It's your situation. It's your family. It's your legacy, whatever it is that for you specifically. That's what makes it different. So take back your pen one more time and say, hey, I'm going to, from today, learn what I need from my business, my need and want number. Because this is where most people, I've done workshops on this. I've done lots of speaking engagements. This is where their light bulb turns on and says, oh, you mean the business should work for me instead of me just running around like a chicken with my head cut off? It's like, yes, this is where we should be actively working towards. Why did we start this business? That's why, anyone else out there hate the illustrations sometimes of like the Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates, the Microsoft, McDonald's, like all that. It's like great for an illustration like that, but like we are not them, especially at the startup phase. Like we have different struggles that we go through. There's different things that we need to work. It's like where we are, this is the first steps of like to that next step. So even if you want to become big like that, it starts with a good foundation. And that's what we need to lay here is a good financial foundation. And it starts with, don't just take what everyone else says as gospel, say, what do I need for myself and my family? And what's the best path to get there? Is it wholesaling? Is it flipping? Is it rentals? Is it a combination? Like, then it makes it more particular to you. And like I said, you're going to get that form because I did this with Joey back then. We do this with lots of people, but with Joey, it was fun. He got back on the phone. He was like, I sat down with my wife, Ashley, and went through that keep number form. We found the need number, like what we need to get out of the rat race. And he said, guess how many deals I need to do next year in 2020? And I said, I don't know, back to what you were kind of doing, like 1 to 2 a month. And he said, no, I only need to do 5 deals in 2020 to hit my need number. And he said, that was like a huge weight off my shoulders. It just fell off because to me, that meant Ashley doesn't have to work as much in the business. I don't have to work the 80, 90, 100-hour weeks to get 5 deals this next year. Like I built the system to get 3 or 4, and a lot of it was with my time. But if I slow down, I can speed up from there. It's like slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It's like he had to go slow a little bit to say, hey, how many deals do I really need to do that won't burn me out? That I won't wake up another day and say, I hate fix and flipping. Like, I don't want that for you. I don't want you to get to where Joey was. So that's where right now, like make a decision of, okay, if I've never found these numbers, I want these numbers in my life. And you'll get that, like I said, that keep number form at the end here. So if you find that keep number, how do we make sure that we consistently bring in that keep number or know how much we have to keep? Well, we have to have a system. If I'm going to teach you that wealth formula, and if it starts with finding what you need to keep, then how do we make sure it's a reality? Well, it's a system, just like Jason alluded to, just like anyone that runs an actual business has systems. We're going to set it up. Number 3 is all about running it continuously, but number 2 is about what do we need to set up. First, I want to get real with you, okay? In my book, I even tell the story there. You could go deeper into the book if you want to, but money is so emotional, right? It really is. How many of you that are married have ever had a fight with money with your spouse? You do not have to raise your hand. You do not have to put it in the chat. But like we've all had those. If you're married, it's very normal, right? And that's where I was, even before Profit First did all this, I thought I was right. She was wrong. I'm the saver. She's the spender. Like, besides just being arrogant, young, and dumb, It was like I needed to sit down and say, I just don't have a good system for us to talk about this. Financially healthy couples talk about money. And this system helped us to at least start those conversations. Was it perfect? Did we not stumble anymore? No, that's not how it goes. Like, you're still going to stumble, but at least now it gave us a common ground to work from together. And where I know that this is not just all about business, because business affects our personal life. Like Michael Corleone was wrong. It's not personal, it's strictly business. No, the money touches our personal life. So like, that's where if you have a system, it can help with stuff like this, because if you just have in your business a one big black hole account, this is where a lot of financial anxiety comes into businesses, where you have one big account, everything comes in, everything goes out. So if you're trying to spend money on marketing, I don't know if I have the money. Is it mine? Is it for payroll? Is it for this or that? Do I still need to pay for projects? Do I have a spouse that's saying, when can I get groceries? When can we go out to eat? Why did you start this real estate investing venture? And you've got this one big black hole account and you're like, what the heck is going on? I don't want you to live here anymore. This is one way to manage the finances. This is how most people manage their finances. It all goes in one big bucket. And do I have money? Great. I don't have money? Well, then I'm not even going to look at the account. So I don't want you to live there anymore. Like, let's give yourself a little bit more peace of mind and a little bit more intentionality. How do we do that? By learning 3 numbers: make, spend, and keep. What's coming in, what's going out, what we're keeping. This system is going to help you with these 3 numbers. These 3 numbers are the magic numbers. You know why? Because every time I've seen someone get clarity around these 3, they've been able to change them. They've been able to say, ooh, I'm not making enough. Where do I need to pour the gasoline? Or am I spending too much or in the wrong areas? Well, I need to adjust. Or am I not keeping what I really want to? And I'm feeling stressed all the time, overwhelmed, burnt out, feeling like Joey, like doing all these deals. Where's it all going? This is where the system's going to help give you a foundation of these 3 numbers and how to find them without even ever having to open up your QuickBooks account or a financial software like that. So what is it all about? Profit first in the system. It's the modernized envelope system. It's really simple when you boil it down. It is literally setting up physical bank account, not envelopes. Good God, I don't need you stuffing hundreds of thousands of dollars in envelopes. What we're going to do, though, is set up physical bank accounts, business checking accounts that are named for the purpose of what that money is for. This is the principle of giving every dollar a name, making sure you're intentional with every dollar. This is why I don't care how many deals you have done so far. If you've done hundreds, or if you've done tens, or if you've done 0, like, from the next deal, you can have a little bit clearer picture of the money in your business and feel more like a business owner. So I'm going to tell you some of the foundational accounts from the Profit First system to set up. The first 3 I call the Golden Trio. I know, like, I look like the accountant. I also look like I love Harry Potter and Star Wars, which I do adamantly. This is where they always have the main heroes, right? Luke, Han, Leia, Harry, Ron, Hermione, the Golden Trio, making sure good wins in the end. Guess what? Your business is way more important than these movies. Like, your business is your epic saga. It's what you're going to pass on one day. It's what you're going to leave as a legacy, or how you're going to make all your money, or how you're going to escape your rat race, or whatever it is you want for you. So how do we make sure we're winning now and we win whenever we pass off into the sunset? This is where we get serious about these accounts, because they help you keep more of what you make. So what is the Golden Trio of accounts? The profit, owner's comp, and owner's tax account. Profit is making sure it's like the icing on the cake. To me, it's like, this is your why account. This can help fuel your purpose of why you started the business, and you take it out quarterly. Owner's comp is literally the account dedicated to what point number 1 was all about, finding your keep number. Owner's comp is all about paying yourself. It's the compensation you pay yourself for working in the business. So monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, however often you pay yourself. I would set up an account, owner's comp, so you can see, how close am I getting to my need number? How close am I getting to my want number? Or how many months of reserve do I have to pay myself in that bucket? Number 3 is owner's tax. So at tax time, which is coming up very soon, is like making sure that we have the money to pay our taxes and we don't have to worry about it. That one's a big peace of mind account right there. Like, where a lot of people get into real estate and they've never had to pay taxes before, and now you pay taxes and you're like, oh, dang it, I need to go do a couple deals just to pay the taxes. I don't want you there. I want you to have peace of mind to be able to say, okay, I set aside a little bit from every deal that closes in a tax bucket. Here's your Golden Trio to make sure your epic saga is winning along the journey, and it wins whenever you decide to say, I want to sell, or whatever it is that you want to do with your business. Other foundational accounts, the first three are the most important. These ones just give you more clarity, in my opinion. OPEX you already have. That stands for operational expenses. Number 5 is the bad guy. It's the spend account. It's where money goes out. No, it's the emperor. Number 4 and number 6, I like to split out from OPEX. Income is what comes in to the business. All your deposits funnel into just one account, and nothing automatically goes out of income. It just sits there till you transfer it to the other accounts, like the golden trio first, then to OPEX to spend the money. OPM, everyone who's a real estate investor probably knows that, but it's other people's money. Other people's money. So if you're going to take money for a project, I would not mix it in with the first 5 accounts to run your business. I would put it in its own account, so that way you can see how much do I have left to finish my projects. Do I have enough money to finish what I have on my project board, or how much work in progress that I have left for my rehabs or rentals or whatever. OPM is for that money that if you're safeguarding it for a private lender or someone that sends it to you directly, you have it there. So you've got your money to run the business, money to run the rehabs. Those would be the foundational accounts for the real estate investing world. These just give you clarity and peace of mind because you can see where the money is, being intentional with every dollar. And if you're like, dang it, it's a lot of accounts. Like, you're throwing a lot on us. First of all, this is training. You came to be trained, right? Like, this is something that I've seen just over and over again. People setting up the system, it helps them gain clarity. But if you're like, okay, where do I start? What's the simplest? Where do I start first? I would say at least the owner's comp account. At least giving yourself the fighting chance to get paid what you're worth in your business and get in the habit of paying yourself. Even if you're like, I'm still on my W-2, I don't need any money from the business. It's like, okay, but pay yourself a little bit. Like, get in the habit, maybe 1 to 2% of what comes in. I don't care what it is, but start where you can. So that's where I tell people, if you're wondering, where do I at least start from here? Start with the owner's comp. I'd love for you to incorporate it all and gain ultimate clarity over the business, but start where you can so you actually utilize the system. This is where with Joey, he sends me this picture almost every year now and says, I will never go back to one account. He was one of those people who's like, I got to set up multiple accounts. And I said, well, do you like where you've been? Cash wise, do you want to hate real estate one more year? Well, then we need to make sure we're intentional with the dollar. So he set this up, and now he's like, I'll never go back to one, because now I know what's going out, what's coming in from different businesses, and what's the rehab project budget, what's the profit from this business, what's my pay, all there on my phone, where I can easily pull that up and see cash-wise where I am. So many people, it just gives them clarity and peace of mind just knowing where the dollars are just by having those accounts set up. We haven't even gotten to what you should do with the money once it comes into income. But it's like, just set up the system so you can have that clarity of peace of mind from where you are right now. That's where with Joey, he also was able to, last year, he called me in the middle of the year and said, I filled up all my accounts. I filled up all my accounts. I don't need to do another deal to the end of the year. That's the habits that build on top of each other. That's what I want to talk about with number 3. That's where a lot of people start the system, but then they never go through with like, what do I do on a continuous basis? That's what I want to give you here. Well, how do you make this a reality in your business, and how can you make it as simple as possible? Number 1, on a weekly basis, I would move the money. I would move it. Like, what does that mean? It comes into income, and by Friday of that week, I would move it from the income account to the other accounts. And you say, how much should I move? I'm going to give you this view in the presentation at the end, the resource document that I have for you. It has TAPs. They're called target allocation percentages. The columns are the size of the business, and the 2 different tables are whether you're trying to sell it, the property, or at the bottom, if you're holding the property. These are cash-wise the goals to shoot for. This is like the GPS target to go after. This is not necessarily where you are today. This is just going to give you a goal. So this is where the goal should be, but you might start with where you are now. You might be at 97% operational expenses, and you can only have 3% of the other accounts. But can we get better? And this tells us how close we are to becoming a healthy cash business. So that's what this is about. Number 1 every week was move it. Every month, review it. Now, if you have a system, income, expenses, and then the golden trio of accounts, you have your make, spend, and keep accounts. How much came into income? How much went out of OPEX, and where did it go? And then the keep accounts, how much did I actually transfer to profit, owner's comp, owner's tax? Giving you very clear picture of what came in, what went out, and what did I keep. If you do that, you'll be clearer than like 90% of business owners in general, not just real estate investors. Like most people don't know those numbers in their business or couldn't give them like that. Third thing, every quarter, take your money. What do I mean by that? This is what I alluded to in point number 2. If you set up the profit account, that account really is for your for your bigger purpose. Like, why did you start your business? That's why I started in point number 1 asking you that question, because it points to, this whole system points to why you started it and keeping you on track for that. Every quarter, I would take up to 50% from the profit account and put it wherever you want to, like spend it, go out and buy another property, go out and do what you want to with it. Like, it's there for you to have fun with. That's what the profit account is for. And it's like, I want you as a business owner to not get burned out, to not wake up one day and say, this is not worth it, or to have a spouse say, like, why did you start in real estate investing? Well, if you hand them a check, and say, this is why, that's a much better answer than we'll keep, it's the equity buildup, or it's like this, that, the other. That's where this is a great system to be able to give yourself a boost and the people around you of like, this is why I did it as well too. There's another key piece where if you're like, this sounds like nuts, like, I don't know if I'm going to do all this. And I'll tell you at the end, you could get your hand held by someone to walk through this process with you. Like, that's where Jason said it went into overdrive for him once he had someone helping him walk through this as well too. So if this is feeling overwhelming, I get it. I'm going to give you some very key first steps that you can take with the resources. But then from here, I want you to have financial peace of mind. Because as a recap, first, find what you need to keep. Do you know what you need to bring home? Number 2, create your wealth system. Make sure you have the system set up to bring home what you need to, and then build the wealth habits in there so you can consistently have money in your bank account and you're not running around like, where did all that money go? Have a consistent system that works for you, because then you can get rid of the pain we all secretly feel. Then you don't have to feel phony when you go to a workshop, or you go to, a group or a Zoom meeting, or if you go out to a mastermind. It's like, now you can say, okay, money is coming in, but I also know what I'm doing with it too. And I know if it's good or bad. That's where most people's pain come from. It's not even that they're losing money. They don't know how much. It's like, I just don't know where the money's going. So we can at least give you clarity. Once you have clarity, you can make decisions to make better decisions in your business. That's what I want for you. Because with Joey, it wasn't just all about the money, right? It was about the time freedom. Like, I said, you want me to show this? I said, and it's not a weight loss program, Profit First, but it's like, for him, he was able to go from orange shirt to white shirt in 1 year because he stopped working so much, because he knew what he needed to get this next year. And he wanted to build some healthy routines back into his life. And it's like having the clarity on a big stumbling block that the finance is to so many people. For him, it was mentally freeing to say, I can do these other things. Like last year, though, he did like 3 triathlons. He took it to the extreme. Not saying you have to go out and do that. But my favorite slide of all the slides I have on here, profit unlocks your purpose. That's what it's really about. For Joey, it was spending time with family and giving to charity. Last year, when he had that money saved up by like June that I told you about, like in 3 weeks in August, he took off on a road trip in an RV he bought with extra tax money he had 1 year as a refund, that he gave himself from his tax account. And then on the right-hand side, he texted me at the beginning of the year, I think we can give $50,000 to this charity. And then at the end of the year was closer to $70,000. Then he sent me the picture of how much he actually gave. I called him right away and said, Joey, $71,000. He's like, yeah, that's a lot of money. I said, does that number ring a bell? Like, he said, that's a lot of money. I said, do you remember how much you lost back in 2019? He's like, oh, $70,000. I was like, yes. And this last year you gave intentionally $70,000 from this one account to this camp for kids, and didn't touch your OPEX, didn't touch profit, didn't touch owner's pay, didn't touch the taxes, didn't touch anything else. And to him, that was like, this is what the habits got me into. And what it's really about is, if you can do this and you can learn how to play the game of money, the money game here, then you build those habits and you can end up like this, whatever that means to you. That's what I want for you. That's where I want to give you some of the free resources here. If you're like, this has been overwhelming, where the heck do I start? First of all, I'm giving you a Profit First cheat sheet, but I'm also giving anyone who's here the Profit First REI book, like the ebook or audiobook. So if you're here today, I want to at least give you that, because that way you can go deeper. If the cheat sheet if it just gives you some good first pointers of where to start, like how to set up the keep number, what should it be, how do I set up the bank accounts, what type of bank should I look for? how do I actually stay consistent and what are the first steps there? I'm giving you that one pager, and it's got a visual overview and the full ebook, audiobook as well too. If you're a part of Jason's group though, if you're a part of the Elevate mastermind, you get the print version sent to you as well too. Jason's investing in that. So I highly encourage you, if you're not already a part of it, to jump in. But if you are a part of it, you get the book. You get the print book too. That'll be sent to you. So I'm excited to do that because I love all versions of books. Now, when I really like a book, I get usually all three versions because I like to read it first. I like to listen to it, get more ingrained into me. And then I like the ebook version because I can highlight and drag all the notes from Kindle and put them into like a binder so I can actually circle the things that I want to do. So if you want versions of the book, this is how you can get it on the last slide that I have for you. And if you're wondering what the heck I do now, because we still work with real estate investors, I'm still active in that world. Now it's just helping a lot of people stay away from where Joey was, like the before of where Joey was. So what we've done is I created a part-time fractional CFO firm where you say CFO, that's ivory tower. There's no way. Literally, these are people that are there on a part-time basis that are financial leaders, more like a financial coach. So number one, make sure you have the right bookkeeper and CPA and like all that's meshed together, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Real estate books and stuff can be really hairy. So it's like making sure you get that in place so you don't have a big cleanup job later on down the road. We do implement profit first as well too and hold you accountable to it. And then we set up a dashboard. All the other people in your life, bookkeeper, CPAs that you might have had bad interactions with are all usually rear view mirror people. What have you done? What we do is install the dashboard to say, here's where you are going. Here's where you're headed. Here's the GPS for you so you can see, are you going to end up where you really want to be in your business and doing forecast projections, your cash positions, all that stuff. And so that way you as an entrepreneur you really know where the numbers are. And people say, there's no way. I just started or I just did my first few deals. We have different tiers of programs too. So I don't care if you're newer or if you're down the road like Jason, done lots of deals. We've got different levels of our program to make sure we can at least lay the foundation because so many people there's this type of information and help is so lagging out there. It's few and far between. There's not a lot of other people that do it. So we built that into our price and the timing as well too. If you think like I'm spreadsheet allergic, I don't want to be looking at spreadsheets all the time. That's where all we go through is how do we set this up? How do we make sure you have the right people in place? And then we meet on a consistent basis and make decisions on the money. That's where you can go with the other people we worked with. So there you go. If you want to link to the cheat sheet, that gives you, here's the resources, here's the cheat sheet and the book. That's how you can get it. If you want a discovery call with our team, that's literally to see if we're a good fit. If we're not, this is not a high pressure sales call. You get on the call to see if we're a good fit. And if we are, we tell you about our program. If you're not, then we usually ping you to a good bookkeeper or CPA in the real estate world. So it's like, I just want to help you take that next step so you're not feeling that financial anxiety that a lot of people have. So that's how you can get there at simplecfo.com/JL, or you could go to that QR code, get the cheat sheet, book a call with us so we can at least guide you to that next step so you're not living in that rat race anymore. Thank you, Jason, for having me on and allowing me to share Profit First message with your group.
All right, everybody take a deep breath.
Right? Had a lot to get through.
When I first met David, it was in a fancy ballroom. We were, at a high level event, and the concepts that you laid out then, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to share a little bit about my story, David. I shared with you last week about this. I had two false starts in this. I understood. I had read Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First, years ago, and tried to implement it. And I had a false start, and it crashed and burned. I got a hold of your book a few years ago after that event, and I had another false start. And so the vulnerable moment right now, and I want to share with everybody, is if you're allergic to spreadsheets like I am, and this is not your jam, this is not what you excel at, David can help you, or find somebody that can help you. In this case, it was somebody on my team that literally, my daughter, and she's on this call, she's one of the Jason Lavender pictures there with the hat. She was the one that had to implement this system to really protect myself. And so we did the accounts, much like David showed here. We implemented each of our accounts. Everything's going on behind the scenes that I'm not even aware of, because I'm kind of an enemy to my business. we would get money and I would do the bank balance accounting method and I would go out and buy more rentals, or I would go, shoot myself in the foot literally. And so what's amazing about David's system and what he's got here, and he alluded to the book, and I'm going to give that everybody on my Elevate team. If you don't already have it, you're going to get this. I bought a big old round of these last year and gave them away. But if you'll just, it sounds so simple because it is, but you've got to implement it and you've got to follow the plan. There's oftentimes investors, entrepreneurs, we're always trying to cut a corner or outthink the plan or tweak the plan or do whatever we're trying to do. And honestly, that's insane. Like David wrote a plan here, just follow the dang plan. It's not hard. You got to take discipline, but follow the plan out. And if you'll do that, your business will benefit from it. I mean, it's insane to think that something like this, could literally, with, good planning and prodding and implementation, will be a complete game changer in your life, your business, and the legacy that you want to leave. So, that being said, David, I appreciate you jumping in, and we got a few time for a few questions. Do you have a few minutes?
I do. Yes, I have till the top of the hour, so I'm good for the next 10-ish minutes or so.
10 minutes or so. All right.
Yeah.
Anybody, if you got a question, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can. I haven't checked in the chat. Jaden, I don't know if we got any questions in the chat, but
I didn't see any there. I do have the number one question I usually get asked when I present to people, and it's usually, especially in the real estate world, if I have multiple entities going on, what do I do? Where do I start? And I tell people, start with your primary money-making entity. If you do fix and flipping and you've got a few rentals, start with the fix and flip or wholesale or whatever, like the active, where money might be coming in faster too, like the velocity of that is traveling. Then if you have rentals, you might see, okay, it's working over there. Let's set it up for the rentals as well too. And if you say, well, I've got a bunch of entities for my rentals, or you grow your portfolio, don't set up the system for each individual rental, LLC or unit or whatever. It's like rentals overall, how are they doing cash wise? Selling the property, and that type, how is that doing? So make it easy, make it simple for you to follow the system. That's the best advice I can give you. Start with what you will do. What can you do from here? What can you make it simple from here? Is it getting the keep number form and filling it out? It's like taking in bite-sized chunks, especially for an area that most people don't like to touch with a 10-foot pole. You got to make it really easy for yourself in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah. One of the big takeaways too, and I appreciate you saying that, for many on this call and in my shoes, just a few years ago, like cash flow was such a huge, huge problem. And as investors, I mentioned before, like oftentimes we're shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're, if you're a, super creative, very ambitious, go-getter, a lot of times you're not going to put these systems in place that are so necessary. And, that's where you end up with the, if this resonates with you, that you're house rich and cash poor, well, guess what? That was me. I've got a bunch of activity. Don't confuse activity with progress, and much to the stories that you talked about, David, where, people were scaling and scaling and scaling, doing, tons of stuff. And like, I think I got to declare bankruptcy. Like, take a breath, take a step back and implement a system like this. I always say, we always want to put cookies on the bottom shelf. To me, I'm a simple guy and simple concepts resonate deeply. So put the cookies on the bottom shelf, implement systems like this. Your business is going to thank you later. This is, most people play defense with money, but profit first lets you play offense with it. Be very proactive. And you're not going to be held captive to, a cash cycle. You're not going to be held captive to, well, we had a great project. We hit a home run on that one. Let's just, let's all of a sudden decide what we're going to do with all this cash. Or conversely, like, well, that was a stinker. This is a bad quarter. I'm going to have to go start selling off some rentals or something. I've done all that, and it's been a terrible, terrible, painful learning lesson. And so the quicker you adopt, principled, fundamental, things within your business and processes, the better off you're going to be. All right, questions. Let's get off my soapbox. Anybody have a question? We've got 5 minutes, maybe.
David, just real quick, I think I know some of the answer to this, but can you just quick explain the difference between profit and your salary?
Yeah. To me, profit is more of the why. So since this is, and we need to make sure profit, we're all speaking the same language. In profit first terms, to me, profit is a physical bank account that you stuff money into that you take out quarterly to have fun with, whether that's buying more properties or just going out and having a great time, taking that trip you've always wanted, going across, cross country, like buying a nice car, whatever it is, profit does that. It's the why you started it, and you take it out less frequently than your salary. Your salary is a different bank account. It's the owner's comp, and you take it out, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly to pay yourself for the work you do in the business. That's where sometimes that can get confusing because bookkeepers, CPAs, accountants all out there love to use the term profit very loosely, and it means multiple things to multiple people. Like here in Profit First land, it means a bank account that you stuff with money that you can use on a quarterly basis for whatever the heck you want, where the owner's comp is to pay yourself for what you do in the business. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Anybody else?
I have a quick one, just expanding on that a little bit. So in looking through all the different account suggestions and those things, is there a recommendation, or Jason, maybe you could tell us what you do, but so I'm assuming people that are just taking like, here's all the profit we made this month. And when you're breaking that out into percentages and doing your owner's comp and shifting money and all that, are there people, or is there a percentage that people are moving into hey, yeah, we made this money, but we want to keep some of that in the business. We want to push some of it back to the business to continue building the business on top of what we're going to keep for ourselves and what we're going to pay ourselves.
No, that's great. Great point. Because in this system, if you have a profit account and you have an owner's pay account, like you've got the keep accounts and you're funding them on a consistent basis, and let's just say you got profit to like 15%, but you wanted to grow the business, you might have to cut a few percentages from profit and put them in OPEX. Like, okay, now I've got to hire someone. Now I've got to grow, but now you're being intentional. You've built that cushion and that margin. And now you're like, okay, now I'm intentionally saying I want to build it. And instead of going from like a normal business might go from like 5% down to no profit margin whatsoever. And it's like, but I need that person. And then you're running the thin line. And if anything goes wrong, you're out of business. It's like, now we've built the cushion and now we're reinvesting purposefully and with the profit, not just like, man, I hope this works. I hope this hire brings in a lot more than what I'm shelling out right now. So it's like being more intentional with that and building a plan around it. You can also, this is why I like this system. You can set up an account and call it reinvestment, or set up an account and call new hires and like start putting some percentages just in there. So the next time you want to hire, boom, you've got 90 days worth of that entrepreneur, that employee that you bring on board, and then you give them a 90-day probation. So like you don't even have to invest for the full year. You're just seeing, is this the right person? Okay, I've built a good cushion. So there's multiple ways to do it, but it just helps you bring more intentionality to that decision-making process.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would add to that is, and this is for anything in your business, when we run our business, KPIs matter. I mean, this is essentially a KPI for your bank account. If you can't, if you don't track it, how can you tweak it? I mean, you can't. So just like KPIs are fundamental to any type of a marketing campaign or sales, knowing your numbers. I mean, KPIs are important, and this system will allow you, gives you, I call it, it's KPIs for your banking.
Yeah.
I don't know if I just coined that term, but anyway.
Yeah, true. I usually call it the CRM for your money. Just like you have a CRM for leads and you follow up with your leads, this is a great system as the CRM for your money. I follow up with it. I know where it's going. I know when it came in. I know when it's leaving. I know if it's supposed to return something. It's like, when you do that for the leads, just substitute leads for money now and making sure that the money's on track, because all of us here are not playing the real estate game. Your real estate is the vehicle in which to play the money game. And it's like, that's where we really have to learn that and control the dollars coming in and out and knowing where it's going.
Okay. I've said that tons and tons of times. David, thank you so much for saying that. For everybody listening on this call, we're not playing the real estate game. Real estate is the vehicle by which we are playing the money game. I talk about this all the time on rehabs and things. I'm trying to win the award for the nicest house remodel. The truth is, it needs to look good. but we're not playing that game. And we all have to understand we're business owners. Real estate is the business by which we're in now and trying to, advance our goals and make money and provide for our families and our future. But just understand this is a money game. I've heard it explained 10 different ways, and whatever, way is going to resonate with you most, but we're playing the money game. David, thank you for making that point. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right, time
yeah,
for
for sure.
one more question.
So I had a real quick one, Jason. How do you determine, how to set up those percentages for those buckets? Like, how do you determine? Is there like a system to figure out what percentage, to set aside for taxes or, salary and all of those things, depending on how, the scale of your business? Is there like a rubric or a system to determine how much you set aside for those, each of those buckets?
I'll let David answer, and then I'll give my answer. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I do give a comprehensive way to do that in the book. So how to find where your percentages are currently. It's called in the book CAPS, current allocation percentages. I gave you the tap sheet of like the targets that you should shoot for, but you got to find where you are currently. Like everyone runs their business off percentages. We just don't sometimes even recognize what the percentages are because we've never done that study on our business. I also, on the one pager, give a very simple way of finding your caps too. Like here's just how to find your current percentages, like on a scratch piece of paper if you just need to look at it real quick. So there's the rough and ready, and then you could dive in a little bit deeper with the book if you want to get more to the penny. But I give a system there to actually put those numbers in place.
Yeah. And for those in our Elevate REI Mastermind, I want to share my percentages that I use. It's going to look different for everybody, but that's a great question. It's a good, where do we start? What's a good starting point? David lays that all out in the book. If you don't have a copy or you don't have one coming your way, you need to get it. And I'll share what we do with our community as well. So, David, we're at the end of the line, man. I appreciate you being able to join us. And for those, I'm going to share the link that you dropped in the chat. I will be sharing that with everybody on the Facebook. Facebook group.
Please do.
What we're going to be doing. If you want to reach out to David and see what Simple CFO can do for you, I would highly, highly encourage you. I assume that's going to take you to a link for a discovery call or.
It's right there on that page too. Or if they get the resources, it takes them right to that. We can help you.
Perfect. Well, so we'll share that. And if you are, I would highly encourage you to check into what David's doing there. And again, for those that are in Elevate REI Mastermind, this is some resources that I'm going to be giving you guys for free. It's just a value that's been in my business, and I want to see everyone just knock it out of the park and succeed so wildly in adopting a system like this. So everybody stay tuned for those resources. Dave, thanks again, man. I appreciate it.